Hi there, welcome to OH-Brew. My name's Craig Morris and I like beer. And today we're at the Maize Valley Farm Market in Hartville, Ohio. They have a winery and a brewery and a whole lot more. Wait until you see some of the things we have in store for you today.
This episode of OH-Brew is sponsored by Beer and Ale Traveler. They'll drive you to drink in style. Let Beer and Ale Traveler plan your next brewery or winery tour. Choose from their pre-planned tours or sit down with Rick to customize a tour for your group. And remember, you don't have to drive yourself. Ride in comfort in their limo-type bus with 2 flat-screen TVs and a rockin' sound system. Need transportation for a concert, birthday, or bachelorette party? Whatever the occasion, call Rick to set it up.
All right, Jake, this place is one of the coolest places in the state of Ohio that has like a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Let's run the gamut, tell everybody out there what this place has, because even though you're going to tell me, I know you're going to miss something.
Oh yeah, I'm going to try to remember as much as I can. So this is a winery, market, brewery, big fall festival destination. Typically when you come out here, we've got, the market, which has the wine tasting bar and the beer tasting bar. There's also a deli counter. We've got a full kitchen.
You were making some beer, soup today? Beer cheese?
Yeah, they were making a beer cheese dip. So that's, we try to cover all of our bases. Summertime on Thursday nights, we do a classic car, well, not just a classic car show, but kind of a bring anything interesting or cool car show, which has been classic cars, motorcycles, muscle cars, supercars, sports cars, just whatever, military vehicles. This time of year, largely, everything's focused on the fall festival, which kind of goes on out behind us. We have a corn maze that is something new and interesting every year. They cut it into different shapes and patterns and, what have you. He's got a big old pumpkin cannon mounted on an enormous farm tractor chassis. They do a balloon liftoff event, which is our kickoff to fall every year. They get a big robot dinosaur that breathes fire and crushes cars and stuff. Comes out, late September, early October. Yeah, there's a giant variety of things to do. Bring the kids out. There's big tire piles for them to climb on. There's all kinds of activity, gem mining. There's everything.
Never know what you're going to find out here.
They want to ride a tricycle around a track. If they want to go on a hayride or they want to do wagons or whatever, all that stuff is going on back there this time of year.
Now, do you do music now and stuff like that?
Yeah, live music in here every Friday and Saturday night. There's always performers, bands playing on the weekends constantly. So.
Okay, now this building we're sitting in here is not even a year old yet.
Yeah, no, it's actually it's just over a year. Like I said, this was a big expansion for us. We had the pavilion out here, but it wasn't for season. It was, kind of open walls, just kind of like a roof type deal for use in the summertime. And then at the beginning of last year, we got everything closed in, got everything, all the woodwork done and all that kind of stuff. It's all completely climate controlled. So now we have all this expanded seating out here even through the winter time.
And you say it fills up out here even Fridays and Saturday nights.
Yeah, and that's the big problem we were running into is that we were just getting entirely too full inside to where we were having to turn a lot of people away because they were, they'd come out here on a weekend and there's just nowhere for them to go.
And you're not that far from Canton and
No, we're about
Akron and places like that.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of smack in the middle, but east of those areas. So we're about 15, 20 minutes from either one, and not too terribly difficult to get to, even though it is, when you're living in Canton or Akron, you're like, I don't want to have to drive 20, 25 minutes away, but it's not that far. And
Sure.
We get a lot of people out from those areas, a lot of people from Cleveland. So
Not only can you get great beer, but you also have wine, and of course, we're coming into the holiday season. Apple wines,
yeah, for sure.
cranberry, stuff like that.
yeah, we're
You
doing all
guys
that.
hang your hats on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, and that's we're fortunate. We're one of the more award-winning wineries in the state as far as Ohio wine goes. I mean, obviously, we're covering all the sweet varietals that you would expect, from Ohio wineries, because that's what grows here. But we also do some really nice dries, dry reds, dry whites. Probably our more popular wines are, the Redneck Red, which is a very sweet red wine. We've got winter wine. We've got cranberry. Those are all coming up this time of year. Our apple wine is very popular. We've got a big variety of wines available as
So
well.
you haven't figured out how to mix beer with wine.
We try not to.
You try not to. Just keep them separate. Keep them in their own corners.
Yeah, it's always like,
But they can exist in the same building.
for sure.
but
Yeah, for sure. So, and then also, I mean, we're talking about food. I mean, we've got a full kitchen. We do everything from, deli type sandwiches and soups to, we've got monthly specials constantly, pizzas, all kinds of stuff. So.
And you also have a nice little gift shop out there where you can get, bottles of wine, as far as beers go,
sure.
crowlers, growlers, the whole type of thing.
Yeah.
to-
I mean, we've got a selection of a bunch of things. I mean, meats, cheeses, wines, beers, kind of trying to cover all the bases out here. So, I mean, when you do come out of your way from Akron, Canton, wherever, you can kind of pick up whatever you want. So it works out well to get people out this way.
All right. Well, we get to try a little new concoction here.
Yeah.
The Saison.
Yeah, this
When
is.
will it be ready to go?
So this actually, I'm packaging this tomorrow. This is a beer I've done for the past couple of months out here. We had run out of it, and so now it's coming back. But this is this is a Silo Killer. This is a classic Belgian farmhouse Saison beer. I'm a giant lover of Saison DuPont, so this was kind of my version of that beer, but with local ingredients. And we threw a little bit of red peppercorn in the whirlpool to give it a little bit more of that peppery character. But this is very much a yeast-driven beer where you're getting a lot of like pepper, clove, some of that pear, apple kind of characteristic just from the hot fermentation of that Saison yeast.
So the other places that we went to with OH-Brew, not very often can I get a brewer to say, of the beers that I brew, this is my favorite. You caught me totally off guard earlier today by saying this is one of my favorite beers, and I was like, whoa, wait a second.
Yeah,
Nobody ever takes sides on stuff like this, but
I'm not shy about it. Like I love this.
but
beer.
after trying it, I can understand.
It's kind of everything that I love in a beer. It's dry. It's interesting. There's a lot of that kind of interesting characteristic from the hot fermentation and that Saison yeast, where you're getting all those super interesting yeast-driven characteristics in this beer, where typically, yeast is kind of in the background on a lot of stuff except for Belgian-style beers. And I'm never shy to tell people that this is my favorite beer that I brew.
Well, our mantra is we're always in search of Ohio's finest beer, and I would say that this is an excellent one to end on today. Well, we'd like to thank you for having us here today.
Hey, thanks for coming to see me.
And you got some great beers. great facility here, and we appreciate it, so thank you.
Well, thank you guys for coming, for sure.
This is still fun because we have some beer in front of us, and we want to talk about, the magic that happens as far as this room is concerned.
For sure, yeah.
I know there's a lot of really nice new stuff here. They've really give you some really cool equipment to work with. Jake, you want to take us through the process?
For sure. So we have a 15-barrel Deutsche Beverage technology brew house here. We have 5 15-barrel fermentation vessels. We have a 15-barrel bright tank and a 10-barrel bright tank. So our system, the brew house itself, it's a 3-vessel. We have a combination mash lauter, which is this first vessel here. That's where all the grain and hot water sort of combine to make the sugary wort. Then we have a boil kettle in the middle, which this is all steam, by the way. So we have our steam boiler. So we have jacketed tanks, which basically shoot steam around the jackets of the tank to heat everything up. In the boil kettle, there's also a internal calandria. So it's just this cylinder in the middle of the vessel that has a bunch of cylinders shooting up through it where steam is forced into that vessel and helps, heat up the wort and shoot it out of the top of that vessel as well. That's so I can basically shut the jackets down on that tank after it reaches a certain temperature and run it just with a calandria, and that helps reduce the chances of a boil over. So after the boil kettle, we have our whirlpool where we can basically spin that wort, force all the protein solids, hop material, that kind of stuff into the center of the vessel, and then we can draw off a port on the side of the vessel to leave all that, hop break and hop material and all that kind of stuff behind in that vessel when we're running it through our heat exchanger and then over to the fermenters. I said I'm producing about 1,000 barrels of beer out of here annually right now, which is kind of production peak for me with our current setup.
So you do not self-distribute, or you do self-distribute?
Yeah, we're only self-distributed right now. So we have a sales and delivery guy that does our beer sales, does our wine sales. He also delivers all of our beer to the accounts that he's selling to. We are distributed on wine statewide through Heidelberg, but for right now the beer is still self-distributed, and we're trying to keep it that way as long as possible.
Well, you have a pretty big area to cover.
Yeah. I mean, we really do have. I mean, we've got a lot of room out here right now. The idea is that as we grow, down the line, we pre-plumbed more glycol for tank additions. This space will start closing up over the next couple of years, and it's going to get a little squirrely out here, I'm sure.
Move a little bit of wine out of here and put a little bit more beer.
Yeah, that's the idea. Is hopefully, we'll build another building to house the wine warehousing, and then everything else out here will just be brewery focused. And that's where we're kind of butting up against each other with storage and everything else at this point. So we're starting to get to that spot where we got to start thinking about what we're doing on that end.
Well, you have some excellent looking equipment. I noticed the majority is 6 barrels, not so much halves.
Yeah, primarily, most craft breweries at this point are doing 6 barrels because that's what, when you're feeding accounts that have, tons and tons of tap lines, they only have so much space for, the cooperage that those beers are in. So there's not a lot of accounts that do half barrels on things. We have a handful, but for the most part, it's all sixtels, which makes packaging a little tedious, but at the same time, that's what they can fit and what they can store. So it's kind of that's kind of the way that goes.
Have you guys started to do cans? I noticed some of the bigger cans inside You know, the
Yeah, so we actually do like 6-packs of cans of our two more popular brands. We do the Hop Amnesia IPA in cans, and we do our Peach Fork Peach Wheat Ale.
do you bring them the canneries in?
Yeah, so we use Ironheart as
Okay.
a mobile canner. They come in, a few times a year and can up some batches of beer for us. We do have a crowler machine in the tap room, so you can get any of our 16 drafts put into a crowler and seamed, right there for you to take home. We still do growler fills and all that stuff too.
It's really, the crowlers are really taking off.
Yeah, they're really popular.
Does this building have a name yet?
No,
I'm surprised. I really am.
it's called the Brewery. The Brewery.
All right, Jake. Well, thanks for giving us a tour of,
Absolutely.
the brewery. This
Absolutely.
is some really nice stuff here.
Yeah.
All right, we're back, and this is one of my favorite parts of the show, as always, testing the beer. And Jake, you lined us up some beers here to try,
Yeah.
and well, let's start out with number one and go the whole way down through.
Yeah, so number one is our German Pilsner. It's biggest selling beer in the tap room, just because I think every time your lightest beer is going to be your best seller. This one is brewed with all locally grown and malted Pilsner malt from West Branch malts. And then we also use some German hops, Pearl, Tettnanger, some noble varieties, and then we ferment it with the Weihenstephaner strain of yeast. So we got a very classic, just kind of like classic German style Pilsner. Yeah.
And that's what you're always looking for, is something easy. Hey, I gotta do that too.
I do. I don't know if anybody else does, but
Nice, easy tasting beer.
yeah.
And when people come in, the novice beer drinker, this is what you kind of direct them to
Yeah.
get them started.
Yeah, and that's obviously over the past 5 years that we've been brewing beer out here. We've certainly in this area started out with some craft beer novices because we're kind of out in the country. A lot of people came in. They're like, "What's the beer you make that's closest to a Budweiser or a Miller or So we kind of direct them here. We're like, "Well, it's not like that really, but it's going to be the most approachable beer that."
This is how I can hook you.
Yeah,
And reel
I've
you
had
in.
several people upset with me that they're like, I was perfectly happy with my American light lager of choice, and now I'm spending on IPA, and like, well, you're welcome. I'm glad you become amongst the enlightened.
Well, you need to up the stakes in that game, and that's what craft beer brings to the table.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of breweries are making beers that are approachable, that you can get people in the door and say, hey, craft beer is not the wild thing all the time that you might think it's going to be. Sometimes it's just making a really well-made example of a style that's classic and approachable. That you're using a local ingredient or very good ingredients to make the best example of that style that you can.
And you probably get the person that comes in, the first thing they said was, I just don't like dark beer.
We get that all the time.
And
All the time.
you tell them the normal answer for that is?
My answer is, just because a beer is dark doesn't mean that it can't be approachable and drinkable.
And taste
Yeah.
on an even keel.
Yeah, and you think about something like a German Schwarz beer, where you're like, yeah, that's a beer that's dark in color, but it's very drinkable, very approachable, and, a lot of people might be shy about ordering something like that if it's not what they're used to, but that's my thing has always been like, well, you can make very approachable beers that are outside of what people would normally, try, because they might be a little intimidated or whatever, but it's like, you can still make an approachable example of a style and get people interested, and it's not going to hit them over the head with hops or hit them over the head with malt, and just be something very enjoyable.
And some people don't realize that they actually like, popcorn and a little bit of burnt popcorn,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
type tastes, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh, wait a second, that's got a caramel flavor, and all of a sudden they're just tasting all these
Right.
different flavors.
Yeah.
And you know, you got to get them in the mindset of, you know, don't be scared. Don't be scared. Might send you out on a limb a little bit. All right, what do we have next on the list, Jake?
So this
Number
is
2.
our Oktoberfest beer. Brewed also with local Pilsner malt from West Branch Malts. We do use a couple of different caramel malt varieties to give it kind of the color and that malty character. This beer also same German noble hops. This is, for me, my pet peeve with Oktoberfest has always been that they're too sweet here. When you go to Germany,
They're not
they're
sweet.
not sweet. They're still highly drinkable. They're a little maltier than the typical Pilsners, Helles, that kind of stuff, but they're not like a big sweet beer. And I find that a lot of...
Does that come from the temperature, you think?
No,
Over there compared to how we like our beers here in the U.S.?
I think maybe it comes
little
from
more.
the American palate. You know, we're very much we like things to be a little more sugary than a lot
True.
of other places.
Very true.
But there's still, when you go there, like, you don't want a liter mug of super malty, super sweet beer that you're gonna drink. So the Germans don't make it that way. They're making a highly drinkable product that just has a little more character than their typical Pilsner, Helles, you know, beers that they're having. So this beer, for me, my goal in brewing this beer was to make it kind of like how the Germans make an Oktoberfest, where yes, it's a little maltier. It's got a little more depth of character, but it's not
A little drier?
Yeah, it's not so sweet that you're gonna drink it and be hit over the head with malt and have to stop after a couple of beers. This is definitely made to be sessioned the entire day. And that's kind of my goal with this beer, and I think I've gotten there.
It's excellent beer, that's for sure. Number
Absolutely.
3 on the list.
So this is our Munkin Public. It's a Belgian dark strong ale. This is the most award-winning beer that I make. We won a silver medal at Great American Beer Festival in 2016 on this beer. We've won several medals at the Ohio Craft Brewers Cup on this. Actually, we won a gold this year in the Belgian French Ale category on it in the Ohio Craft Brewers Cup. So this is, for me, like classic Belgian Dark Strong Ale. It's, you know, dry. There's a lot of dried fruit characteristic to it. A little effervescent. It drinks much easier than the 10% alcohol that it boasts. So it can be a dangerous one too.
Here we go.
But
Doesn't taste like a 10%er.
it really doesn't. But yeah, you certainly get that like dry, raisiny kind of fig characteristic from it, and it's
Still a little caramely.
little caramely. Yep.
So how much fun was it preparing for the Great American Beer Fest?
You know, I don't know about fun preparing for it because it's a lot of stress and packaging beers and getting them out there on time.
Ain't it
and
cool how it gets there, though?
It really is. So we
In a
we
Budweiser truck.
we send it in a refrigerated
I'm
truck
sorry.
with the
I say that
Ohio
word?
Brewers Association. But it's good that we're able to send like cold beer out to Colorado.
From Ohio.
Yeah, as an association, kind of come together and get the logistics figured out to get our beers out there in the best state that we can. Which, you know, if I had to ship this beer, you know, it'd be sitting in a box warm on a truck somewhere, and who knows what condition it would be in by the time it got there.
Absolutely.
So
That's what makes it really cool.
it is, and that's one of the things that, you know, when I was coming up and getting into brewing, you know, GABF is, you know, that's the pinnacle of what we do, where you're like, all right, well, you know, someday you hope to go to it.
Right.
I never really imagined that I would win medals there, and that's blown me away. I won a medal in 2016 with this beer, and I wasn't there for it. That was our first year sending beer out
So
there.
it kind of earned you the right to go the following year.
So then the following year I went out and, have been there the past couple of years as well. I won another medal in 2018 for a brandy barrel aged old stock ale called Lock, Stock, and Brandy Barrel that we had brewed out here. I won a silver medal in the aged beer category. It's something that I never anticipated actually winning a medal at GABF at this point in time. Once I started brewing, I was like, I don't know if my beer will ever be good enough to do that.
Persistence. It pays off.
Yeah. So it's been awesome, and that's probably my favorite part of the year is heading out to Denver, going to GABF. Win a medal or not, it's a good time. Going to the festival, meeting people, having people taste your beer that normally wouldn't be anywhere near where the brewery is.
All right, number 4. What do we got for number 4?
So number 4 is our flagship IPA. This is the Hopnesia IPA. This is brewed with a pretty simple bill of 2-row malt and a little bit of Carapils, and then some Citra, Centennial, and Simcoe hops. Just kind of like IPA classic, sort of it is, or West Coast IPA classic at this point, where it's it's a little dank, it's a little fruity, nice and bright, and that's kind of how I like to do IPAs.
Explain that word dank
to
them.
I mean, we can't really explain the word
Why,
without sort of a marijuana reference, but
it
it's kind of
is
that
it
nose.
It is got that.
Hops. Everybody knows hops are kind of kissing cousins to the, marijuana plant. So you get sort of those same kind of like terpenes and stuff where you're getting that aroma off some varietals, and I feel like Centennial certainly has that nose to it, and that kind of lends that character to this beer. But this is a lot of like, you get kind of like a resiny pine characteristic with a little bit of citrus, and that's where I like IPAs to be, because I'm kind of old school about IPAs. But it's been fun, having your neighbors, the people that are locally here that maybe they didn't care about craft beer, maybe they didn't care about those sorts of things, and they come here and they see like a product that's made here, that we're doing our best to use local ingredients when we can and when it makes sense, to obviously finding something that's a higher quality product, and they've embraced it for sure, and they see how we put money back into the local community, where we're using local suppliers on just about everything that we can, and getting other local businesses our business, so that everybody
Have
benefits.
you figured out how to make a corn beer yet?
You could make a corn beer, but then it would be,
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving right along.
Yeah.
Maybe I overstepped my bounds a little bit, but hey, it's been known to happen on this show, let me tell you.
Yeah.
But we'd like to thank you for letting us try your
absolutely.
beers and explain them.
Thanks for coming out.
Man, there's some really good beers here. Well, these people here today are enjoying some great Maize Valley brew. And I talked her into getting an IPA today, but she got another one. You got an IPA too?
First one was, yeah.
First one? Now
This
you
is
went to
Oktoberfest.
Pilsner? Oh, you went to Oktoberfest?
Yes.
What do you think about this place? I mean, all the stuff that they have to offer, and the
It's our favorite.
beer and
It's our
wine and
favorite
everything.
winery. We talk about it all the time.
Brewery.
So you're
Brewery, you get good beer, you get good wine, you get good food. They have everything.
fairly
Good
local.
see.
He's
Fort Myers, Florida.
Fort Myers, Florida.
Yeah.
That's
where
a
I
long way
live.
to that's a long way to come
I
to drink
came up.
beer.
I came up to watch the pumpkin shoot. That's what I did.
And
I flew out
hang out
Monday.
with the goats.
I hang
And
out
the
with
goats?
And the goats.
And I heard through the grapevine that they might have like goat races and stuff like that. Is that true?
They definitely have races. If they've upped their game like they often do, it wouldn't surprise me if it was goat races at all.
This place goes way above and beyond of upping their game. I know they do. Love their beers?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, totally.
Well, you
And the
haven't
food's
said
good,
too
too.
much.
Can you bring us some of that food?
You were all talkative
Also very
earlier.
good.
Food.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. That looks delicious. I'm going to stay for a little bit and eat some food, but we'd like to thank you guys for joining us on OH-Brew and telling us a little bit about what goes on here at Maize Valley.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Happy to be here. It's
Lots
awesome.
of good
Check it
beers
out.
on tap, always. Huh.
Yes.
It's right over here, so you guys can see.
So you can see what he's talking about there.
All right, at OH-Brew, we always talk to the patrons. And right now, what we're doing is we're talking to some people from Ohio and some people from California. And they think that beets from Ohio taste awesome. I, on the other hand, don't think that because I'm from Ohio. But California people don't get to enjoy, you know, the pleasantries that we do in Ohio. So that's why they come to Ohio to visit. And they're enjoying some of the beers here from Maize Valley. What beer did you have, sir?
You know, I had the pale ale. I forgot the name of it. I also had their chocolate stout. That was good too. But the beer was good. I
Beer
enjoyed
was
it. Yeah.
very good?
Yeah.
Now, you don't have like places like this in California, do you?
Oh yeah, we do.
You do?
We do.
Like fun places like this that like shoot off pumpkins and
Have corn
and
mazes.
corn mazes and all that kind of stuff. They have corn in California? I thought the only things they had in California were grapes and movie stars.
Yeah. And they have grapes, movie stars,
Okay.
surfers. You know, they have
Skateboarders.
Skateboarders?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Skateboarders.
We shoot
They
them
call them
off.
skiers here in Ohio, but they don't have wheels on those things. But
But California does have the largest agricultural center in the whole United States. Just
but
to let you know.
do they know that though?
People from LA know.
Okay.
Okay, and that's where we're from, Los Angeles, Redondo Beach.
Ah.
Okay, but the people from like the San Joaquin Valley, yeah, because there's lots of agriculture there. It's
Okay.
a big place. It's a big place. But in Ohio, this is a cool place to come. We're
All right.
first time here.
That's why you brought them here, right? Because it was a cool place to bring them.
Yeah.
So
Only winery I come to drink beer.
that explains a lot
The
right
whole
there.
deal right there.
And you probably hadn't came here till they made beer.
True.
So now you come here,
For beets and
beets
beer.
and beer.
Dirt.
Beets and beer is why they're here.
It's a beer.
Thanks for joining us on OH-Brew as we talk to people that know about
Beets
great
and
beer,
beer.
beets, beer, and wine, you name it.
What more could you
Had
want?
a good time. Thank you.
We'd like to thank you for joining us today on OH-Brew, and we hope you enjoyed this family-friendly atmosphere that they provide here at the Maize Valley Farm Market. And remember, at OH-Brew, we're always in search of Ohio's finest beers.